Selling on LinkedIn is very different. When people come from Instagram onto LinkedIn, they're used to just promoting and saying, I'm doing this thing, come sign up. And that's really not how it happens on LinkedIn. It's a very social selling atmosphere. You might post a really technical breakdown of something that has no call to action and it's just giving value. And people will reach out and say, hey, that was really interesting that you broke that down. I'm going through that.
Welcome to Girls Make Bank, the podcast show for women who want to learn the art of selling for business and for life. I'm Jack White, seasoned sales professional, entrepreneur, and owner of Honeybees Group. Come back each week to hear inspiring stories from some of our favorite business owners. Learn how to take the ache out of selling and make bank. We're all in this together, so let's get started. If you've been sleeping on LinkedIn, this episode is your wake-up call. Today, we are talking to Molly Godfrey, LinkedIn coach, content strategist, and the go-to guide for women who want to turn connections into clients. Molly is breaking down how to use LinkedIn not just as a networking tool, but as a consistent, sustainable sales engine for your small business, and she is giving us all of the tips. We're getting into the kind of content that actually works, the biggest mistakes people are doing, and how to build a posting flow that doesn't burn you out because we are not content creators full-time. We are running our small businesses. So if showing up online has felt overwhelming, like it has for me, this episode is going to change the way you think about content and give you a roadmap to start showing up. So let's dive in. You definitely want to stick around for this whole episode with Molly. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Girls Make Bank. I am here with kind of my business crush, I guess I would say, Molly Godfrey, who I've known for a little while and is really fantastic and has come and spoken to the Honeybees Group community. We have met for lunch and she's joined our community breakfasts. And I am really excited for all of you to get a little taste of what Molly helps women, small business owners and founders do. So welcome to the show, Molly.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for that intro. The feeling is very mutual. I'm glad we found each other.
Yes, me too. And I was trying to think about how we actually met because we're a part of a lot of the same communities. We both live in New York City. And I didn't know where we actually initially connected. Do you know?
You were a guest in Sarah Block's class.
Yes.
You looked so familiar at that point. So I think online, different communities.
Yeah, all the things.
Yeah.
For people who don't know you, give us a little intro into who you are and what you do.
Sure. Yeah. So I do all things LinkedIn. Technically, I'm a LinkedIn strategist and visibility coach. So I really love working with founders, but especially female founders, to help tell their story in a way that's aligned with their brand, that helps generate business, that really has a purpose for why they're sharing about themselves, and really how to use the platform because it can be really overwhelming, really complicated. So I like to simplify it and help people create systems so that they are consistently being visible and reaching the right people. So I'm really into all things LinkedIn.
I love that. And so how did you get into LinkedIn? What's the story there?
It's a great question. So I come from the blogging world. So I was a big blogger before the pandemic, but especially in the pandemic, there was nothing to do. So I would just, write a bunch of Google Docs. And I had worked with a lot of different editors and publications. And it got to the point where a friend of mine was like, Molly, your blogs are so great. You should put these on LinkedIn. So I was just posting links to my blog. I had no idea what I was doing. And then a woman that I knew from my tech career started engaging with this LinkedIn kind of guru. So I took a very basic LinkedIn course and I was like, wow, I am onto something. Like, this is really interesting. So I come from the tech, the professional, services world. So LinkedIn made sense to be showing up on, but it was really just an experiment, but it really worked. I was quickly growing, quickly getting traction. and was just getting new leads in a way that I hadn't been on Instagram and other platforms.
And so you decided to sort of shift your focus for yourself to LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And then when did you realize that you could help other people grow their own platforms and visibility there?
Yeah, it was maybe 6 months later. I was one of my entrepreneur friends, she was really struggling with marketing, and I was like, "Are you on LinkedIn?" She was like, "No." So I took everything I had implemented for myself. She was like my beta test. And now, 4 years later, she runs her entire business on LinkedIn. She doesn't market anywhere else. She's gone viral many times. So about 6 months in of testing and learning for myself,
Started helping other people.
yeah, it was very freelance. It was very low key. And so
Yeah.
2023, I properly formed the business that I have now.
And that's how so many, I feel like, businesses start and women service providers start, is by doing something for themselves, realizing they're good at it, dabbling or freelancing or like on the side doing it for somebody else, and then saying, hey, this can be an actual business. Let me go all in on this. And so I think that story resonates with so many people on how they started their business. And 4 years later, this is what you're doing.
Totally. It is. It's
Yeah.
a wild story. I remember I was home with my mom the summer that I started experimenting with LinkedIn. And I had just, my services at that point were 5 to 6K. So I had just gotten 2 5K clients. And I was like, Mom, I just need 10K from posting on LinkedIn. And she was like, I used to have to use the phone book and I used to have to get radio. And she was like, what do you mean you just made $10,000 on LinkedIn? I was like, yeah, I did. I just watched it blow her mind right in that moment. It was wild.
Yeah. Yeah. And so talk to me about, because I feel like LinkedIn 18 months ago was all I heard about, right? Like Instagram is so saturated. It's so hard to get traction. Social media in general, you don't own your audience. Algorithms just are sucky, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And everyone is talking about LinkedIn. So a couple questions. One, is it too late to really like build influence and build your followers and get into the LinkedIn game? Is there still time? And then how do you, if you haven't been on LinkedIn, start to show up?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, I'll answer this as honestly as I can. I think there's 2 considerations when getting on LinkedIn. One is, were you building a network in your career, in your jobs prior to starting a business? Because so much of LinkedIn, it's a social graph algorithm versus an interest graph. So Instagram and TikTok, if you watch a car video, you're going to suddenly get a bunch of car videos. That's all the algorithm is going to train on. LinkedIn, it's all based on who you know. Like it kind of is that annoying phrase, like who you know.
Yeah.
So if you had a really strong reputation in corporate and your past career, those connections that liked you as a coworker, liked you as their manager, are going to be excited that you're posting now and are going to engage with it, and it's going to show to their network. So even if you've never posted, but you've like I'm working with a woman, I don't know, she spent her whole career in marketing agencies and she had such a good reputation. All of those connections are brick by brick people she knew, she built. I was like, you're going to do great because you've got a really strong network. So it's not too late. Even if you've never posted, but you have a really good network, you'll do fine. If you're just getting started, I really recommend kind of our story, be involved in places. Like it's a social graph algorithm. So you need to be in communities, you need to be relationship building. If you're doing that in other places, it will translate pretty organically.
Bring them over to LinkedIn.
But it's a really different algorithm and people don't understand it.
So this is the first time, and I've heard you say this before, but I think it's the first time it's actually clicking for me. The social or the network algorithm versus the interest algorithm. So does that mean that we should be culling who we're quote unquote like friends with or connected with? And or should we be really particular about friend requests that we accept? Because I get a lot, and I'm saying friend requests, but I don't know what you call it, like network, people who want to connect with you. Because I get a lot of requests and I kind of accept most of them, and maybe that's actually hurting me.
Yeah, it's a great question. I typically tell people you don't have to accept everyone. Like I like to look how many mutual connections do we have? Does this person actually look interesting? Like, do they have a cool background? Are they posting about cool things? Like, I'm pretty particular about who I connect with. By the way, you cannot connect with them and they can still follow you. So if they send you a connection request, they're following you. You don't have to accept it to be in their network. But I had another client do a big experiment. They removed all of their past irrelevant connections and they did see an increase. I went back maybe 2 years ago and I got rid of just all of the relevant, honestly, just like a lot of corporate men that don't really engage with anymore. It's a good question. I think it's good to be discerning about who you accept, but I think more so you want to think through, like, who are those strong, weak ties that I had, who are the strong ties that I had, and just reconnect with them, go to their profile. If you DM people, then they start showing up on your content will start showing up on their feed.
Okay, I need to take some time to carve out and do that. And because now I see people posting about being more discerning around who you accept. And I always am like, what's the harm in, accepting? Except now I'm getting a lot of spam DMs. So we should spend some time talking about like the no-nos on that, because it's so gross and annoying. And I feel like saying, hey, I teach people how to sell. Don't do this. And like, we should figure out another strategy. And then also potentially, who you're connecting with is hurting or helping your own algorithm. So that puts a new filter and lens on kind of who I accept and who I request. So I mostly work with women service providers, and they are all interested in figuring out how to build authority, generate leads, and make sales on LinkedIn. And so tell us some of the best practices that you have to really because we're all about making genuine connections here. One of the reasons I think we get along so well is because we are very aligned in sort of the way you should be, selling, and relationship driven, genuine connections, showing up to be in service. How does that translate on LinkedIn? And what are some best tips that you can share?
Yeah. Selling on LinkedIn is very different. When people come from Instagram onto LinkedIn, they're used to just promoting and saying, I'm doing this thing, come sign up. And that's really not how it happens on LinkedIn. It's back to what we talked about before. It's a very social selling atmosphere. It's not very linear. So you might post a really technical breakdown of something that has no call to action and is just giving value. And people will reach out and say, hey, that was really interesting that you broke that down. I'm going through that. So I like to just say in general, it's a really different approach. Not everyone likes it because you can't be as direct. It's very, as a generalization, LinkedIn is very growth-minded, very intellectual. People want to learn. They're on there to better their careers. They're on there to get a promotion, to make more money. And now, I would say in the last 5 years, to accelerate their business. So giving value is super important. But I think now what I'm really helping founders do is storytell, but connect the dots. So if you're doing something, so for example, if you're a fractional professional or you're a service professional that is out on their own doing consulting or helping organizations with the thing that you are solving for big organizations, you want to get really good at certainly showing case studies of how you've delivered those transformations now, but you want to connect the dots between what you used to be doing and how you built all of that experience. And now you're just in business for yourself. So really learning like what your audience finds credible, whether that's, hey, you were like, this person was involved in some really big projects in their past career. Now they're just doing it at a fraction of the price of what their agency was doing. Or this person is really good at solving problems and handling chaos and like seeing the unique solution. Like tell the story of how you did that for an organization in corporate. So I think storytelling, if you can get good at storytelling, it really has you stand out.
Yeah. And that's true, I think, for so many things. Being able to tell the narrative of why your service is the answer, right? The solution, why you are the right fit, how your past experience translates to, your client's success. Storytelling is really hard. And I think for a lot of women, visibility, I struggle with this. Visibility is really tough. There's a fine line between telling your story and feeling boastful or braggadocious, which we don't want to be. And so how do you help clients toe that line? Or as Jess tells me, like, just get over yourself.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's such a real, it's funny. I feel really comfortable visible on LinkedIn, but like the idea of having a podcast or like visible in any other way freaks me out. So I definitely get it. I think we can get in our own heads. So much of the time I'm just tone checking clients and I'm being like, that doesn't sound arrogant. That doesn't, I promise you times a million, that's not how it's coming across. I would be honest with you. So just having another ear, but also realizing like we like to celebrate. Like LinkedIn is such a celebratory platform. Like we actually want to champion you. We want to hear from that, especially as female founders. We want to hear women just like taking up space and doing things. So I'm a bit like Jess of just like, get over it. And also you're probably 1/10 of braggadocious that you think you are.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky one to internally navigate.
Yeah. And I think everyone or most people and most of the women I know struggle with it in one way or another because, and it's the same, I equate it to how we feel about selling, where, we've seen all of these negative examples of people boasting or over promoting themselves or whatever it is. And so we kind of repel and we say, oh, I don't want to be that. And there's a difference between, and this is something I have to remind myself and something that people like you can help hold us accountable to. There's a difference between, being honest and telling your story and how you can help people and using your past experience as qualifiers for, what you can do for your clients versus, bragging for the, humble brag or bragging for the sake of bragging. So that's one of the things I struggle with the most is the visibility.
Totally. But you brought up a great point.
Yeah.
I was at a talk 2 or 3 summers ago, and the woman said, it's not bragging if it's facts. Like if you factually did it, you're just actually telling the facts. And I thought that was such a good perspective on it. And I think of it as a puzzle. Like I really like to be artful with it. Like I think there's a difference between just, dropping in, I've done this a lot before and this is what makes me good at it versus like, I am so great. Like it's an art form of tastefully sharing about yourself.
And how do you help people, or what do you recommend, or are there best practices because I think of LinkedIn as a professional platform where all of the other platforms, I think the lines can be very blurred, but LinkedIn is a professional network. So how do you show up, create visibility for yourself, do the storytelling? Where does the personal and the professional sort of come together there so that you can sort of give a taste of this is who I am, this is what's important to me, this is my values, this is why I do what I do, without maybe oversharing, or maybe it's okay to overshare there? Like what's your take on that?
My general rule of thumb is if it ever needs a trigger warning, don't put it on LinkedIn. If it's like a deep dive into a trauma that you haven't worked through, maybe don't leave it, don't save it, don't put it on LinkedIn. If it's just a trivial fact of like, oh, this is what I did, this is what I had for lunch today, maybe don't put that on LinkedIn. But if there's a genuine lesson that I also like to think through what are your clients' values. So, when I was a coach, my clients really valued ambition, growth, family. Now I work with founders and they really value, resilience, grit, courage. And so as long as I'm telling a story through the lens of doing something courageous or, being resilient and making it through a hard time, and it's genuine and it's authentic and it's not trauma dumping or going to cause anyone to feel uncomfortable. And that's always a tough line, to be honest. I shared something very personal about a personal loss I had back in May, and I had a brand founder friend read through it. I sent it to her on WhatsApp. I was like, can you just read this before because I don't have someone like me for me.
Yeah.
So, and it was very well received, and a lot of people actually reached out for consults about that. So I like being personal, but I like just keeping your client in mind and really asking, like, why am I posting this? Why is this important for someone? And if you've got a greater takeaway that leaves someone with like, wow, I can do that too, or that's possible for me too, I think it's fine. And if you ever just suspect, have someone get a second pair of eyes.
Yeah.
Like she went through that post and she's like, I actually wouldn't say this. I would take this out. And that was really helpful. So
I like that. Why are you posting this?
Yeah, like I don't necessarily want to know what you had for lunch yesterday, but I do want to know when you went through a hard time and how you supported yourself and got through it.
That's a good thing, because I think that's a lot of, sometimes I read things and I'm like, oh, that seems, and we all have our stuff. And again, with the visibility, I have my stuff too. And I always it's a tough thing of like, what do I share? What do I not share? I do want people to get a sense of, this is who I am. I'm a real person. But how do you balance that? It's a tough call that I think about all the time.
Yeah, I think one other thing to think through is like, what's your motive? Like, if your motive is to get validation or get people to like see you in a particular way or like give you approval for this thing, that's not a good motive. But if your motive is to inspire people and tell people this lesson or share this lesson or encourage someone who might be in the same spot, that's really different. And it's a very kind of nuanced distinction, but sometimes I can tell where it's like, oh, I want to be seen for this. I want to be validated. I want approval. And it's like, no, like, let me sit on this. Let me validate myself and approve myself. And when there's a more concrete, grounded, empowering lesson that I genuinely want other people to get. So it's nuanced, but I can catch myself sometimes where I'm like, I don't need to get validation for that.
Yeah. One of the things that I hear people say all of the time is that creating content and sharing content is not sustainable for them. It's a fast way to burn out. And we have all, at some point or another, experienced this, where we try to show up everywhere all of the time, and we are not content creators. We are marketers, lawyers, website designers, whatever it is, graphic designers. But we have to be content creators as part of being small business owners. What do you suggest to your clients who want to show up consistently on LinkedIn, but have limited bandwidth? How do they create a system? What is the frequency? What is the minimum necessary? And then how do you start to scale up from there?
Yeah, it's so real. It is so, so real. I was recently thinking about expanding to Threads. So I'm full-time on LinkedIn. I was like, oh, let me try Threads. Everyone's growing really quickly. I burned out so fast trying to do both of them. So I really get it. I mean, if you can get really good at one channel, go really deep on one channel. Most of my clients, they're really clear. Their clientele are professionals or service providers. So LinkedIn makes sense. But I would say what I have clients think through is, what are just the evergreen kind of concepts that you're teaching? Like, what is never going to change? Like, what are certain teachable things you can do? What are certain ways that you can analyze concepts in your work or your industry? So I have them create just like an evergreen bank of content. Like for me, I am not saying anything different. I'm not. I'm framing it a little bit different. Like, I talk about relationship building. I talk about online writing. I talk about storytelling. I talk about like the LinkedIn platform. None of that is new. That's all evergreen. So I'm just giving it a different spin. But if you spend time creating what I call an evergreen body of content, you can use that in newsletters, you can use that in videos. If you really thoughtfully put that together, you can reuse that every 3 or 4 months. And of course, like I said, I'll put a new spin based on what's happening in the world in August or, what's happening in the economy. But at its core, like, I'm really not saying that that many different things. So if you can get clear about your message and how you uniquely isolate that and put that and how you approach it, you really don't have to be creating content constantly, is how I help founders think through it.
Yeah. What is the sort of best recommended case for how often you should be posting in order to really optimize the algorithm? Like, what's the optimal and then what's the bare minimum?
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of 3 times a week. I used to post every day, which is wild. I'm a big fan of 3 times a week. I think content on LinkedIn just lasts really long. Like I think you've probably seen, like, posts are lasting for months now. So 3 times a week is great. I would say 2 minimum. But you know what's funny is, to be a LinkedIn top voice, their minimum amount of content you need to put out to be designated as a top voice is once per month.
That's once per month.
Once per month. So their bar is, that's the thing.
Very
LinkedIn is
low.
Very thoughtful. They want expert, really thoughtful, intentional content. They don't want you posting every day. So once per month is fine for them.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to be visible,
Sure.
I would recommend twice a week minimum. 3 times a week is great. All my clients are on 3 a week. I don't recommend more than that.
And that feels doable.
Totally.
I mean, it feels like a lot. 3 times a week is a lot. But if you batch content, which I'm a huge fan of, and what I love about LinkedIn is you can pre-schedule things. I don't know. I've heard that kind of like makes it not as great from a performance perspective, but it sure makes my life easier.
Totally. And how I like to think about it is, I will put a ton of effort into one post. Like, I want one really banger post per week. The other are a little less lower lift. And sometimes it's the great post that takes off. And a lot of times it's the post that I just kind of let flow, didn't overthink. So that's typically my rule of thumb, is like one really, really thoughtful, good post. The other 2, I will often, one post a week is a reused content. And then one post a week is just, maybe I'm testing an idea or just like not overthinking it. And that works really well for me.
And that feels even less of a burden. That feels pretty manageable.
Totally. Yeah. But yeah, I do not want to dismiss or undermine that. It really does take work. It's a long game. You know, the clients that hired me in January, what are we in August? Now they're cruising. It just takes time to build up. You have to have the systems and the willingness to just keep at it. Yeah. And, you know, it really is a genuine investment of time, resources, creativity.
I have a question about sort of maybe it's controversial. It's kind of controversial to me. Yeah. Some people recently have asked me to join these LinkedIn pods where we get a group of people together and we post the links to our posts on Instagram. And then the pod goes in and comments and likes and sort of, reshares, whatever it might be, as a way to trick the algorithm and boost response and engagement on the post. Are you a yay or a nay on that, and why?
Yeah, I'm a big nay, and I'll explain why. I used to be in them. I used to create them. I used to do them. So I get it. I wholeheartedly get it. It can make it feel like you're going to do better or less intimidating. Like, oh, I'll have guaranteed people that will engage with it. But I've really changed my opinion in the last 2 years, because I've had clients come to me self-admitted. They're like, by the way, I'm in a pod. So every Wednesday I put this post out. I can't even tell you how bad the data was. Like, LinkedIn, it's against their user policy. I think the terms is like any sort of engagement hacking or engagement farming. Like, there's businesses that will exist that will leave your post up and just like have bots engage with it. So I think they know, because then I worked with clients who have no idea what a pod is, have never even heard of the concept. Their reach is like 10x. So if you just organically, it's, again, we think it's a short hack, or what's the quick fix, but it's really not. I've seen the data both ways, of people who have never known what a pod is, all organic, and then people that are trying to rack up engagement. So
it's a no for you.
But with that said, I think you can really organically have the same concept. So when I log into LinkedIn, I have the same 5 friends, like my industry friends. I will just go to their profile. I'll engage with their last post. I've just, in my brain, have my go-to people, and they're pretty good at same with me. They'll engage with my content. So
Yeah.
you want to go in with your commenting with a plan, but I don't think like a formal mechanism to get people to leave comments is a good idea at all.
So let's talk about what that plan is. So how do you recommend people sort of think about baking LinkedIn into their schedule? So are you checking it first thing in the morning and commenting? Do you need to comment and like before you post? Like, give us some tips and tricks to, number one, create LinkedIn as a part of our day-to-day business life so that we do it. And number two, how do you think about your engagement strategy in your own day-to-day life?
So I will say, with a caveat, in the beginning, I was super active. I was like, I really want to figure out LinkedIn. I want to make as many friends as possible. So I was probably spending like an hour a day on there, which is wild to me.
It's a lot. Yeah.
I had way more time 5 years ago. But now, like I said, I'm a big fan of 3 days a week. So I don't go on LinkedIn Mondays or Fridays. I just, I might take calls on Fridays, but I'm not posting on Fridays. Same thing. I ease into my week. I do all my content creation Monday morning. Like I write my newsletter and all that
for the week,
or even if I can get ahead an extra week. So if I'm engaging with something on LinkedIn on a Monday, it's just because I really liked it. Like I might go in there, maybe answer some DMs, but that's just prevents me from burnout. Like I take Mondays and Fridays off because it's less active. People are checked out on Fridays. People are easing into the week. According to LinkedIn, the best day for LinkedIn is Wednesdays.
Okay.
So then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'll post a post. Depending on the day, if I've got a lot going on, I might just put it up and move on with my day. If I have some time, I will leave a few comments. I engage after I post, not before. So I'll post. That's the new
best practice
rumor. Again, from LinkedIn. So one of the things they said was Wednesday's the most active day and engage after you post.
Okay.
So that's what
Which
I do.
is opposite from what I was doing on Instagram. So you tend to just bring whatever you were doing from one platform over to the other. So it's good to know that it's not the same and you need to do things different
after. But I would say my goal is to do one really thorough comment session per week. So it might happen on Tuesday. It's not so planned, but like at least once a week, I want to go in and like hit all my industry friends, chat with my clients in their comments. If I can get twice a week, great. But I feel good about myself. Like I really showed up and contributed to the platform like once a week. Maybe it's 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think it's realistic to force yourself to do that every single day, all day. But that would change if I was newer and really didn't have any friends. You do need to put more time, front load that.
It's like anything. You have to build the foundation, which takes work. It takes time. It takes effort.
Yeah.
And then once you have that work put in, you can it's maintenance at that point.
Totally.
It's maintenance and consistency. That's the part that I think so many people fall down on, regardless of platform, regardless of area of their business, is the consistency is key.
Totally.
So whether it's once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Find a cadence and stick to it. You're making me feel so much better about my LinkedIn behavior because I really feel this pressure to show up all of the time, to be on there at least 2 or 3 times a day, checking things out. And it creates a sense of overwhelm and burnout where there are times where I'm like, oh, this is too much. And then I won't go for a couple weeks, which is no bueno, right? Not good. So this idea of like 3 times a week, 2 times a week, fine. 3 times a week, better. And impactful and meaningful in one post. And, do like a kind of longer comment session once a week. But that feels way more possible as someone who is building a business, running a business, raising a young family, doing all of the things, trying to get a yoga class in when I can. That feels manageable. This idea of, needing to be there every day, a couple times a day, posting every day feels like too much.
I'm so glad it resonates. And it just comes from having burnt out, having hated LinkedIn, having this is what works for me now because I want to be on here long term. I love what I do. And so if I'm not taking care, like Monday and Friday is the easiest one. Just don't go on there. People aren't, it's a great day to skip it, you know?
How are people generating new leads on LinkedIn? So I am a business owner. I'm trying to grow my business. I've been showing up on LinkedIn. I've been posting and commenting and engaging. How do I start to use LinkedIn as an outbound sales tool where I'm being more deliberate about it, not just waiting for the business to come to me, but I want to go out and find the business? What do I do?
Yeah. So this is a great kind of follow up to the last part. So you can't build in outbound until you have that first piece set up. So I typically don't even really approach this with clients until 6 months, maybe a year in, because it's just, the reason I say that, it's adding another layer of responsibilities onto your LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So do all the regular things, get that in place. But I'm a huge fan of Sales Navigator. I'm obsessed with that tool. It's expensive.
It's expensive.
$100 a month. But if you, by the way, to answer this more directly, I don't recommend outbound for any service less than 3,000. It's just time consuming. It requires, you have to create a system. You have to show up for it. You have to be consistent. You can't just reach out to a bunch of people and then not answer them. So unless you have a service that's 3,000 above, I don't think it's a good use of your time and resources. So I'd never recommend it for apps, for courses. Like if you're a consultant or a coach or have a higher end offer, it makes a ton of sense because you land one of these, that's 10, 20K.
Yep.
Very good use of time. So you want to start to build another system. So one of the things you can do without Sales Navigator, but as long as you have premium, so there's premium and then there's premium Sales Navigator. I think it's the second tier of premium. You can send out, I believe it's 200. Don't quote me. You can send it's at least 100, if not 200. Be doing that every single week. Be sending out, maybe not 100, at least 50. Do a search of the title of your ideal client, kind of look through, and then just form some sort of script. So, hi, I'm so-and-so, came across your profile, love what you're doing. Like, do what feels authentic, and then say, I do this for this, should you ever want to connect. So again, that's a whole new action that you're doing. But I don't know why more people don't, because you're now introducing yourself, you're getting them, if they accept, they're now seeing your content on your feed. Like most of the clients that I closed this quarter were from people that I did that to last year. It took them a whole year to get used to seeing me, to get a bunch of newsletters. So it's a very future self action that you're taking. But 1% of those people that you outreach, you're a salesperson. 1% of people are ready right now. So actually, I was just going through my DMs and a woman was like, oh yeah, can you send me a link? I want to connect with your services.
Yep.
So if you send out 100, one of those people could potentially be a client. You send out 200, 1.5, 2 people. So Sales Navigator makes it really easy, but at the very least, just start to set aside time to start expanding your network by sending connection requests. And a lot of people feel weird about this. They're like, can I just send that out? You can. If you're not doing paid ads, then you do need to do outreach. If you're not spending money to get in front of new people, you need to do outreach to get in front of new people.
Yeah. And, any kind of outbound, part of the reason why I think people get so discouraged by it is, number one, it doesn't feel good, right? You feel like you're invading somebody's space a little bit sometimes, which we don't want to do. And the return, you said 1.5%, 2%, that's a pretty low response rate for the level of activity that you need to have. So I liked that you put the minimum floor, like $3,000. Use your best judgment, but let's say $3,000 if your service or product isn't that, it's not worth it. So it can feel really discouraging because you feel like you're spending all of this time. You feel like you're sending out all of these requests or having all of these meetings, then 1 or 2 or 3 people. But the other thing about outbound that I think is so powerful, and you alluded to this, is that it's like planting seeds. So even though right now, maybe you're sending 1, 2, 300 requests and only 1, 2, or 3 people are coming, you're expanding your network that when you show up consistently, when you are doing all of the sales activities that you should be doing along the way, those people will cycle back in, or some of those people will cycle back in. And so sales is a long-term game, and you have to plant the seeds. And that's what I think outbound is so important. One of my questions was, is Sales Navigator worth the investment? And at what time in your business cycle or your LinkedIn sort of life journey does it make sense to bite the bullet and pay?
Yeah, that was all perfect.
Yeah.
Same page. Love that you added all that. Yeah. It is. It's expensive. And I will say I'm grandfathered in. I pay $80 a month, which is so nice. So get into tech early and then keep that foundation. But I would say even if it was $109, I would still pay because my services are premium. So I would say do not pay for it if you're not going to commit to using it, because nothing is worse than having $109 come out of your account every week, every month, and not using it. And I can't tell you how many people do that. So make a commitment to yourself. You probably need to consistently do it for like 6 months. So just make a commitment. I'm going to do this for the second half of the year. I'm going to go all in and do it. So that's what I would say. And then I would say, I also don't really recommend it if you haven't spent time working on your profile, because you're going to reach out to people. They're going to visit your profile. Yeah. They're going to visit your profile. And if you don't have some consistency in content, because the mistake I see is people just do that because they see everyone doing it and they don't have good content, or it's from 3 months ago. People notice that. They're like, oh, you're just trying to sell me stuff. You're not actually like contributing. So it's different for every person. But in my programs, I typically do it at like the 3-4 month mark. Start to add it in. Yeah. But I've got some clients, I work with them, they implement just everything organic content, and then they come back like next year, they're in a really good place to start doing that. Yeah. To be transparent, let me think about my own journey. I don't think I started doing real deliberate sales nav outbound until like 2.5 years. And
we talked a little bit before about spammy DMs. We talked about it with like outbound reaching. How do you start a conversation with someone on the DMs? What does that kind of template convo flow look like?
And this is where the two come together. I'll answer indirectly, then I'll answer directly. Indirectly, if your content is good, so you got good posts, people like it, you're really thoughtful about your solutions and who you're writing for, I have found the best conversation starter is your content. I can't tell you how many people I outreach to and they're like, oh, thank you so much for reaching out. I love your post. That post about blah, blah, blah really resonated. So having good content makes those conversations go so much better. That's the first piece. But the second piece is I like being really clear and leading with what I do. So this is more or less it. Hi, saw you in my recent list of followers, or hi, came across your profile on LinkedIn. I'm Molly. I help female founders break through their visibility blocks and grow their business using LinkedIn. And then I say, should you ever want to connect? And that's just, I'm leading with what I do. I'm not just sending you a blank connection request. I'm not saying, want to add you to my network. No, I don't. I want to tell you what I do so that you can know if you're a fit for me. And if you're not, you can just reject it. If you accept it and you don't say anything, that to me, you're just a warm lead. You're going to start looking at my content, or you're going to accept it and be like, wow, I actually really have been wanting to invest in this. Thank you for reaching out. Yeah. So a good mindset shift is like, I have a solution that people need, and I am just telling them that I exist. And they are adults. If they don't want it, they cannot accept. If they do want it, they can accept. If they're not ready, they can accept, and we can chat later. Yeah. So that's my approach. It's worked very well. I had plenty of clients replicate it for their own businesses. I tell them, don't overthink it, just do it. They do it. It works for them.
And then you mentioned the profile. So optimizing your profile so that when people actually get to your page or they come and they check you out, what should they be doing? What should they be seeing on the profile? What are some do's and don'ts for looking at your profile?
Yeah, a quick do is you want to go through an audit and you want to make sure that it's really easy for people to figure out what you do and then get in touch with you. I can't tell you how many people don't have a company page or they don't have anything linked. And so when I get to their profile, I have to click like 12 places. Forget it. I'm gone. Because you know what happens? On the sidebar of LinkedIn, it literally says, profile is just like this. I will click your competitor who's clear. Oh. When I'm on my own profile, it says, customers are also looking at profiles like yours. And it literally is just a list of my competitors right next to my profile. Wild. So make it really easy for people to get in touch with you, whether that's the link under your headshot, your featured section. And don't post content from your company page, but have the company page have your website info.
Yeah.
Have a company page. So that's the first piece. And then B, you want to create it through the lens of your ideal client. A lot of people make their profile all about them, but think through, if I'm a prospect and I land on your profile, is it clear? Is it clear how you help me? Is it clear why I would hire you over other people? So it's a really different frame. And if your intention is to get speaking gigs or just build a personal brand, it's going to be very different than if you build it out to do lead generation. So
Yeah.
that profile could be a whole conversation, a whole episode in itself.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to do that sometime.
Yeah.
Molly, where can people find you and connect with you? LinkedIn, OBS, where else?
Yeah, I have a site, mollygodfrey.com. It's got the 2 ways that I work with founders, and then it's got courses. Coming soon, I'm going to be adding my profile audit and my sales nav training into my little course home.
Amazing.
So you can find those there, but definitely find me on LinkedIn. I have a newsletter as well. My personal brand is just my name, so Molly Godfrey. Pretty easy to find.
Great. And we will have everything linked in the show notes. Any last sort of one piece of advice for women who want to make bank on LinkedIn?
Don't overthink it. Stick to it just give yourself a year. For a year, try it, see what happens, and then be social, make friends, be genuinely curious about people, and yeah, just stick with it. It's a long game. I've been doing this 5 years, so I can sit here and say this, but it's worth it. Everything in my life has changed as a result of posting content on the internet.
I love that. Good.
Yeah.
Well, it is so wonderful to spend time with you. Thank you for sharing all of this information. Everyone I know is talking about LinkedIn and trying to figure out how to show up and use it in a way that drives their business forward. If you don't know Molly, definitely connect with her on LinkedIn. Follow her. She drops a ton of gems just in her posts on tips and tricks.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening to this episode of Girls Make Bank. If you like what you've heard, please remember to subscribe, like, and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. Please review and share our show to help spread the word and help your girls make bank. And I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram, or visit honeybeesgroup.co. Until next time, friends.